This episode is proudly supported by Westholme Australian Wagyu. Whether you're a chef or just love going to restaurants, you know the best ingredients are everything, especially when it comes to beef. Westholme, based in Queensland and the Northern Territory, Australia, is working with the land to create nature-led Australian Wagyu. They steward 16 million acres of rangeland, guided by the natural ecosystem where cattle graze and forage on native grasses for the first few years of their lives. The result is high-quality Wagyu beef that reflects the terroir of Northern Australia. Westholme believe that when nature leads, flavour follows. Learn more at westholme.com.
If somebody asks me if they should get into this, I'll say if you are passionate, you want to create, you want to represent, you want to showcase, definitely do it. If you want to have a go, have a go.
Hey there, it is Dani Valent here with you for an episode of Dirty Linen, my food and hospitality podcast. I am super happy to have you with me today. Anyone who's been listening to my Dirty Linen podcast or keeping up with the news or indeed walking down their local street may notice that it is a pretty tough time for a lot of restaurants. There are a lot of great deals around, which is good for diners but makes me feel concerned for the businesses. And every now and again, sadly, there are businesses that close the doors. These are sad stories. You know, every business is a world that's created by its owners. But I think it's really important to air these stories. So today our guest is Gurvinder Sandhu, who has closed his lovely little restaurant called Desinental. Gurvinder, welcome to Dirty Linen.
Thank you, Dani. Thank you for this lovely intro. It's an absolute privilege to be here. Been an avid listener, I must say, and great to get going on this conversation with you.
Well, tell us firstly about Desinental. This is a pretty special place.
Yeah, I mean, Desinental, this, as I think I've mentioned before as well, when you came to review us, Desinental was an idea that we and my wife Samara, we had this for a very long time to celebrate diversity and try and showcase with the food, starting with the burgers and fried chickens. So it took us a while to get going, but Desinental was always going to be an umbrella term. So we started off with burgers and fried chickens, but we were thinking and planning to, try and work our way through different genres and try and fuse the spice world with different cultures and see what comes up.
Yeah, well, I think you'd really got off to a great start of doing that. And I found the food really interesting and exciting, really challenging what some people would think of as Indian food. I think the dish that really, really caught me was a chopped cheeseburger. So it had, it really showed the East-West sort of mashup that I guess the name indeed even suggests, with the Desi and the Nental. Do you want to talk about that sort of fusion idea?
Yeah, I mean, this crazy idea actually started with our love for the Korean fried chicken. And every time me and my missus used to go, and we love going out, having sojus and on our days off and just, smashing our fried chickens. And we always talk that, when Koreans can be inspired by the American fried chicken, why can't we do it? So this all started from that conversation we used to have back in 2014-15 while working our way, up in the kitchens. So Desinental is actually a breakdown of Desi basically means a local, and this term is very commonly used in the subcontinent regions, especially in India, Pakistan. For people of Indian, Pakistan, and Nepalese origin, they use this word a lot. And dental comes from continental, which is again used in the food scene in India to describe Western food, Western cuisine, in a broad sense, and oriental, which is again Southeast Asian cuisines. So that's why I kept that name Desinental.
Yeah, it was really clever. And I think, beyond the food, you could really feel the heart and soul that you and Samara put into the place in terms of the decor and just these different themed rooms that spoke about your immigration story and the people that had helped you along the way with, family photos and as a parlor that celebrated friends that supported you in your early years in Australia. It was a real act of honouring to build the business, wasn't it?
Yes, absolutely. It was. It was also a love for movies and storytelling, I guess, which which brought this idea up and helped us design the place. So, if the people who have been through the dining venue, they have seen the rooms. Every room had their own story of friendships, memories, and celebrations. That's what the life is all about, and that's what has kept us going as a first generation migrants to this country.
And Govinda, what did you put into this business in terms of your own resources? You'd been working in restaurants for a while. I think Samara had a retail background, but I mean, did you throw a lot of your own money into this business?
Yes, we did. So we were completely bootstrapped first of all, to start off with, and before opening Desinental, I had taken a small break and I was working for the public service, and then I'd left that comfortable position to come and open this up, and so we had to sell a house as well to fund the business.
That is big and not uncommon. People put all their personal resources into these businesses to get them going. So, talk about how it went as a business.
So when we started off, when we took the place over, the place we thought it's going to take us like what, a month or 2 months to build the place up initially, but it turned out to be Pandora's box. Just kept giving. There was issues after issues, and then we were stuck in those 3 or 4 lockdowns that we had to endure and go through. And so that happened. We had to pay the rent for all that time. There was no support. I mean, there was not much support from the state government at that time. And then the person who we entrusted to build the place, and I won't name names, but he's also a famous person in the hospitality circuit. Um, we thought and we entrusted him to build the place, and we thought that he's helping us, but it didn't turn out to be the case. We were taken for a ride, and I've never mentioned this before. Like, I'm mentioning this for the very first time. We were taken for a ride. We were quoted something else and ended up paying a whole lot of money into his pocket, and the end game was to throw us out of our own business and make us employees.
Oh, I'm so shocked.
Yeah, this is I never wanted to bring this up, but I think people should know.
Wow. So, you've thrown everything into this business. I know that you met with some initial resistance from locals, but I heard people talking about it at the dog park, and people were really into your food. Obviously, you had these massive challenges with the lockdowns, and this, yeah, very sounds like a massive curveball with the person who didn't do the right thing by you. When did you start to think that perhaps this business was not going to make it through?
Um, so once we opened our doors for service, as you've mentioned, there was initial skepticism and resistance from the locals. And but having said that, we've had some lovely people that have come through our doors and have tried our food and became regulars and now are friends who are or were locals before. But we, I think last year in August, when those interest rates spiked up, that's when and then we saw a sudden downturn. That's when we kind of realized and knew that this might not continue for very long until we get investors in. And we tried looking for investors. We did, because we knew that an idea such as this needs investors, needs backing, and needs a bigger team, because creating and integrating are very two different factors. And the lesson that we've learned is, yes, we can create, but we're not integrators. I mean, we weren't. Now we're trying to become one, but yeah.
And I mean, tell me about your personal circumstances, because I know, you've got a little family. Like, what was it like for you and Samara to, I guess, be navigating all of this?
Oh, it was physically and mentally, emotionally, and spiritually taxing. It was quite hard. We because we were not making enough money. First of all, we couldn't hire anyone, and the result, we had friends who chipped in and helped us out, but we just couldn't establish the team that is needed to run a successful restaurant. Like, in the kitchen, it was just me only, and but just because we had a little family, I got a little daughter who's 3 at the time, 2 at the time, and Samara had to juggle between service, her paperwork, and everything, and that was becoming a lot. Like, we had to clean, cook. We were just there 24/7. Like, we had to bring out our daughter at times as well, because we didn't had any help here, because our parents were in India, and we didn't had any spots in the childcare. So it got to us. Like, I wouldn't, like, I'll be lying if I say, we were very positive. We tried to remain positive, but we did put us in a very, very dark corner.
And Govinda, you're still in a hospitality business. When you're feeling like this and people come through the doors, what is it like to create that experience for them while you're carrying this huge load?
It was hard, but then, but this is why we signed up for this. Hospitality is a work of passion, and despite of all the issues that we are facing behind the scenes, seeing people, the people who are coming through the doors, the regulars, the newcomers who are coming to try us out, seeing their smiles is what kept us going. You know, gave us hope, and then and we didn't had the marketing budget. But despite of that, getting featured in the publications such as Good Food, yours, and the other ones, and then getting featured in the Good Food Guide was like a massive boost. I still remember when we were featured in the Good Food Guide, I couldn't stop crying, and I don't cry much. It was that emotional, and yeah, and yeah, it was a special feeling at that time that kept us going.
Oh, goodness me.
Like, we thought, sorry, but we thought, like, that we just have to push. It's always dark before, as it says, the saying that gets darker, gets brighter, and all that. It's always light at the end of the tunnel. But unfortunately, just couldn't go.
I mean, it's a bit of a trap, isn't it, to think it's darkest before the dawn? Because if you're losing money, but you think you've got to keep pushing, then you can really get yourself into a hole. What was the point that you made the decision to close?
Um, well, we were behind in everything, and we just couldn't continue any further. And we actually up the restaurant. To be very honest, the restaurant's lease ran out, so the restaurant got taken away by the landlords. So that's what happened. So we lost money, we lost whatever was left in there is all gone. Equipments and everything. We got locked out basically. So yeah.
Wow, that is so tough. Because I think again about, I just feel like it was such a handmade business, like every lick of paint on the walls and, every detail in there was decisions made by you. I just can't imagine how painful that must have been.
Oh, it was. That's why finding that closure and accepting that what has happened was not easy the last few months, and I was in a very dark corner until recently. Then and again, it's just a sheer love of people and all the DMs that we've been getting on socials has pulled me out of that corner, and speaking to people. It wasn't easy. I never expected this would happen.
And yeah, I mean, as you said, you sold your house to do it. Like, how do you process the financial loss?
Um, it was tough initially. It was quite tough, but then looking back upon it, I am seeing this as a lesson rather than loss. It's like going to a very expensive university and then learning the most valuable lesson you could ever learn. And I believe this has happened for a reason. Um, yeah, so that's what how I'm seeing it as.
Is it? I mean, is it too soon to take those lessons? Like, are you able to share any of the lessons that you think you've learned?
Yeah, I can throw a light on a few. Like location is very important. I think it's very dynamic. Like I'm sure like my experience will be different to somebody else's, but what we have learned is location is the most important. I think we were in the wrong market. It's just the market as you know the COVID and all the current inflation market conditions. Um, Marketing is very important. We didn't have the marketing budget, but despite of that, the word of mouth was clicking, and we feel that had we gotten this year, we probably could have, you know, could have surpassed this initial hurdle that we had faced. Um, Uber Eats delivery platforms, they don't help. They are a giant killer, and I'm sure somebody else had also covered this in your podcast before. Um, Deal apps, I'm not a big fan of them because they tend to put people away. Even who want to try you out, they people have become so accustomed to these deal apps that they don't. Once we and we had signed up for the such app, once we had signed up for such app to get people through and thinking that we're going to get more traction, more word of mouth publicity. But what had happened was people became glued to those deals. They were only coming in if we were offering those deals. And I'll tell you a story. There was a time when one of the guests who was coming through the app, he walked into the restaurant one day and asked us on our face if we can give him 40% off and so whatever off, and he'll come and dine with us. So it became very messy. Yeah, it became very messy. And you can only be smiling up until a certain point.
Yeah, I guess if you can't smile in a hospitality business, things must be pretty bad.
Yeah, it was. And then we had, as we previously mentioned, initial resistance from the locals and feed, and that was quite bad. I remember there was just a passerby who stopped at the premises and asked one of our regulars dining outside when we used to open for lunch that if they have been paid by the owners of the restaurant to eat here. Like, what kind of a sick joke is this place? Without trying.
That's so rude.
Yeah, this was just one of the examples, and those guys felt so bad that they got so offended, regulars, that they said that you at least go and try and we'll pay for your meal. And the person was so shameless. He came in and tried the food.
That's really tough, Govinda. I mean, this the person that you were working with or that was doing things for you that then did the wrong thing by you. I mean, do you have any advice on that? Like it feels like must be really important who you get into business with or who you trust with your money.
Yeah, I mean, just don't trust anyone. No matter how nice they are to you and how much they believe in you, just don't trust them because you don't know what their end game is. And I just what, I was very angry at that time. We both were, but now we feel sorry for that person that he's in his 50s and this is what he's resorting to, unfortunately, which is very sad for him. But just don't trust anyone, and just be very open and very clear. I think even if you have to go legally, just be everything on the piece of paper, everything on the paper, because he what's that saying? He talked the talk. They say he spoke a lot. Like, he talked a lot that we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. But at the end of the day, he was just delaying and delaying and delaying. And he used to make us do his jobs, cleaning up, painting for him, stuff for him, and he had no intentions of opening this up. And I only found out one day when we were sitting in the local pub having a beer, and when I said to him that, look at, my situation, what I've gone through, what I'm going through, I told you of my budget, I don't have the budget. I want to start small, but you insisted that, you should fully execute the idea, and here we are. And what do I do now? And he goes, you know what? I can speak to another friend of mine who has a famous restaurant, and I won't say the name of the restaurant. And then he can help you out, but he's going to be investor. He's going to take 51% of the business.
And you suspect this was the plan the whole time?
Yeah, and that day I knew, like, you know what, this is not happening. This is because he delayed us despite the lockdowns. This carried for a year and a half, and it became very, 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 very painful, very, very taxing.
So I feel like a lesson out of that, maybe it's if you've got a new concept and you're an independent, you're just a person doing it with your own money, that it would be good to start pretty small and not invest too much into this new business, just to test the market before you, really, I guess, paint yourselves literally into a corner.
Yeah, yeah. We also believe so. Yeah.
Because it's so, there was so much heart in what you did. And as you say, I can imagine, excited conversations you and Samara would have had for years about this concept, sitting down and crunching through that Korean fried chicken. But I suppose it's quite easy to get carried away with an idea and to be less rigorous than you might otherwise be about the business side of it.
Yeah, exactly. And just be in control of your emotions. Don't get too emotional. And I think we got too emotional. And there we were thinking that we'll start off with fried chicken, then we'll do this, we'll do that. And as I said, if like till I think had we gotten this year, I was working on new ideas and new dishes and new recipes that I wanted to bring out. But just it's like we were sent out to bat on a bouncy pitch in a cricket test match with no protection on. So it became that risky.
Yeah. And it's tricky because you have to put your heart and soul into these businesses to transmit the passion and for people to get as excited about it as you are. But somehow you've got to work out a way to do it without taking so much risk.
Yes, and it's very hard to navigate through such experiences. Like there is no set marker or a guideline on how to do it. Because we wanted to start small, but then I guess got so emotional with the idea that we thought that if it the story will click, will resonate with people, and eventually will get people through the door. And that could have happened, but then again, there were so many factors attached to this one. There was COVID, the market conditions, interest rates going up, costs going up, location. And this is what me and Samara were talking, I think 2 or 3 days ago, having this discussion that had we been in Brunswick Street or Glenferrie Road, the story or this outcome could have been different.
Maybe it's really hard, isn't it? Because you don't have a control restaurant to test all these things out. So what now, Gurvinder? What are you going to do?
Well, we're not giving up. I mean, as I said, like despite of all the negative points, the love and appreciation and the community that we've built in such a short span of time has given us that boost with the sheer messages of love and everybody has said to just do not give up and just keep going, and that's what now we're gonna do. First thing is to get back on the horse, try and find work in the kitchens again, and then when the opportunity rises, I guess go again. That's why we haven't put the post on Desinental. We haven't really said like we are close. Because once you say that, there's no coming back.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the food was really great, and the intention was. I think there was a lot of clarity in the food that you were doing. I mean, even though it was a big mashup and it was kind of, it was a lot. There was a lot going on, but I think it was really clear. You knew what you were doing. I think with the culinary stuff and the creativity. What advice can you give to other people knowing what you know now?
If somebody asks me if they should get into this, I'll say if you are passionate, you want to create, you want to represent, you want to showcase, definitely do it. Secondly, just don't entrust anyone with, don't get too emotional. Don't entrust people. Don't just put all your trust like we did in one person and think that he's looking after your best interest. People aren't. And then I guess, I don't know. There's so much I can say, but then this situation is so dynamic. Everybody, I'm sure, will have their own experiences. But all I'll say is, if you wanna have a go, have a go.
So you don't regret it?
To be honest, Danny, we had a blast. Like we had, despite of, as I said, how we were smiling is because of the people. They were, you know, I don't think I've ever mentioned this, but a lot of the dishes that you got to try and they came on the menu were because of the community, because of the people who came and tried them. Like, for example, the vegan dish that you had, the soya chap chaat, was a result of a vegan couple walking in, asking us if you have anything on the menu. And there I had this thing sitting in my head. And I asked for their 15 minutes doing business service, to business service, and coming up with that dish. And it became so popular that they not only became our friends, they're regulars. They used to come and have that dish every single week. It was their done deal that we're gonna come and have soya cham chaat. And it affected me so much that by the end I was very involved in creating vegan dishes. I was like, what else can I do with the vegan dishes? So yeah, we had fun. We laughed with people. We chatted with them. We talked geopolitics with them. We just danced with them. It was like a celebration of diversity, unity in diversity. That was our mantra was.
It's so good. And it's just, I'm so happy to hear you say that you had a blast, even though it was sometimes hard to keep a smile on your face.
Yeah, an expensive blast, but yeah, a blast.
Gurvinder, is there anything else that you'd like to say today?
No, I think we've covered pretty much everything, and all I want to say is thank you for giving me this platform.
Well, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being so open and vulnerable. I think, people sometimes ask me, how's work going? And I say, look, it's really good, but sometimes you wish you could just be telling happy stories. But I think it's so important to be able to share some of the tough times as well, and for people to know that, if they're finding it hard, they're definitely not the only ones, and that even when your business doesn't continue, that you can still look back on it and say that it wasn't a failure. It was just a step in the journey and we had a blast.
Absolutely. That's all we're seeing this whole experience as. And as I said, we're not giving it up, because it's never easy. It's never easy. When you bring a change, it's never easy. You'll always find resistance. You'll face losses, but they're all lessons. They may be a loss on a micro scale, but like in stock terms, if you to zoom out and look at a macro scale, it's just a lesson. Like a blip in a point that actually changed you and made you more mature and more business oriented and business minded.
Yeah, well, I look forward to you getting back on the horse, and I will definitely be there to celebrate. So yeah, wishing you all the best with this part of the journey, Gurvinder.
Thank you, Dani.
This is Dirty Linen, and I'm Dani Valent. We air the issues that the hospitality industry finds hard to talk about, hearing from different people with unique perspectives. We want to hear from you as well. If you have something that needs to be said about a topic, get in touch so we can include your perspective. Contact us at dirtylinenat.deepintheweeds.com.au or hit us up on Insta at Dirty Linen Podcast. We can't wait to hear from you.
This